Kia ora koutou from Te Moana Nui a Toi, the coastal Bay of Plenty on New Zealand's North Island. And welcome to our presentation on Navigating Your Stewardship Journey, which is part of the 24 Hours of Travel Innovation event hosted by Destination Think. My name is Kristin Dunne and I'm Director of Destination Wayfinder. The Wayfinder started as an entrepreneurial project within Miles Partnership, but is now an independent subsidiary. My colleague Abby Parkin and I and our Agile team are proud to have launched Destination Wayfinder at Destinations International Annual Convention about 6 weeks ago. Later in this presentation, I'm honoured to introduce Anthony Everett as both a friend, but also as a destination leader that I'm so inspired by for his leadership at 4VI Social Enterprise Group. Anthony's leadership and transformational work of 4VI is an exemplar for all of us as they trailblaze a destination stewardship approach. Destination Think, thank you for the invite to talk about the complexities of transitioning from a demand-driven destination promotion approach to a more holistic destination stewardship approach, and particularly about the Wayfinder, which was created by industry for industry to help destination organisations on their evolution. This presentation is part of an international effort to unite the travel industry by sharing sustainability solutions that exist right here, right now, and you can put to use in your destinations, and we're proud that Wayfinder is one of them. I want to share a bit of my background, not so that you know more about me, but hopefully so that you know I've been in your shoes, in the shoes of a destination leader, and through the process of transforming a destination myself. Between 2016 and 2021, I was Chief Executive of Tourism Bay of Plenty. And in that role, I really grappled with how to grow a destination, but to do so in a managed way. It was hard to balance the benefits of economic growth with the social impacts of that growth on our community and our environment, and also to define our DNA and who we authentically were culturally as a people and a place. Through this process, we did extensive community engagement, and this showed this really profound, deep love of place and a desire to see it protected for future generations. This was actually our community's only goal. During this time, we developed one of the first destination stewardship plans and set about implementing that plan. We evolved our organisation to be a destination management organisation and implemented many wonderful strategies that helped to improve sustainability outcomes, help restore cultural sites of significance, and empower passionate community groups to lead incredible initiatives. If you choose to follow me on LinkedIn, I recently shared some examples of some of the great outcomes of our strategy, which are just coming to fruition a few years later. But frankly, as a destination leader, after 5 years of a change management process, I was burnt out. The change process is hard for destination leaders and the whole team. Leading that transformation can also be a lonely place to be, and no matter how great you're doing, there are still detractors out there. There's so many tensions and conflicts to manage as you go through that change process as a community and an industry. I went into the whole process not appreciating just how much transformation would be required and how hard that would be. Whilst we were so trailblazing, I realised that my region and my team would really struggle to gain much further ground until we had more air cover, which is the term that Michelle Holiday would use. We needed more organisations and places saying and doing what we were doing, more political support, more policy, more data that made our work feel less ethereal. And so I left that role and was given the opportunity to join Miles Partnership. When I started working with Miles Partnership, I realised that there were many other destinations around the world who were having exactly the same experiences and problems that I had encountered at Bay of Plenty. I realised that their story was just like mine, and I wasn't alone at all. Even the destinations in the forward pack for leading destination stewardship, such as Copenhagen, the Netherlands, or Vancouver Island, amongst others, they were battling every day too. And that's when I realised We are all facing the same issues in our destinations, but feeling very much alone. And everyone's trying to solve the same problems, but in different ways. And we're reinventing the wheel over and over again. Within Miles Partnership, we had the vantage point to see hundreds of destinations facing challenges in real time. Unpredictable weather patterns are turning seasonality into a topic with a whole new meaning. We see the increasing pressure on destination organisations to manage crises, roll out recovery plans, build resilient strategies, and to manage your communities as tourism detractors. We listened really intently to destinations to understand the complexities they were facing, particularly those who were in transition from destination promotion or a demand-only focus to destination management and more of a community focus. What we saw were systemic problems, and we realised that we could be part of a systemic solution. Within Miles Partnership, we stood up an internal entrepreneurial project and set a vision for the project, which was to change the nature of the game. To be the node point for meaningful, sector-wide innovation and enlightened disruption, enhancing outcomes for destination organisations and therefore the places and the communities they serve. We wanted to support the destinations that we worked with and all destinations around the world to help change their game. In listening to destinations, we found a number of common challenges that all of you were facing. The first was that there's no common or shared definition of what destination stewardship even is, where to start, or what best practice looks like. So with the Wayfinder, we aim to provide a shared definition of destination stewardship and a framework to demonstrate a holistic approach to destination stewardship and what best practice would look like in action. The second challenge that we found was beyond economic indicators. Destination organisations have been unable to sufficiently measure or benchmark stewardship outcomes. Stewardship work can feel very ethereal to our funders, our boards, our governors, and our communities. The Wayfinder unlocks the potential for destination transformation by providing the necessary metrics to demonstrate progress in stewardship outcomes over time. Due to this lack of measurement, annual budgets, funding, and resource allocation are difficult to justify due to intangible results or results that feel irrelevant. The Wayfinder aims to help with strategic planning and resource allocation and funding requests by providing a visible understanding of an organisation's capability across 4 stewardship outcomes: economic prosperity, environmental preservation and ecological balance, social well-being, and identification and preservation of culture and history. The modules and elements within the Wayfinder help an organisation get clear on where they're at now and where they want to go and the priorities that they wish to undertake, and then apply budget and resources to those priorities and show progress and advancement in that work over time. We talked with our good friends at the Travel Foundation, the WTTC, GSTC, Future of Tourism CoLab, Destinations International, and others, and saw there was a lack of clarity for what destination stewardship is, how to get started, or what best practice looks like. It's really hard to create transformation and change when you don't know what you're trying to change, or why, or how. We found there are so many great organisations out there doing incredible work. And so we asked the question, how can we help amplify and accelerate this work? The solution was in collaboration and using the great work that already exists as a foundation to build on. We invited these organisations, destination leaders already working in stewardship, and other incredible individuals across the stewardship landscape to an innovation lab in Los Angeles in December 2023. Here's a video that shows the time that we spent together in the innovation lab in the creation of the Destination Wayfinder.
It is overwhelming. When you look at the data, the definitions, the words, the terminology, the glossaries, all of these things, and everybody is trying to make a difference. But imagine if we were all working together.
People feel like, oh, quote, it's one more thing to do. And I think that's foundationally where we're missing the mark. It's not one more thing to do. It's just a transformational way of looking at how we do what we do.
Because the one thing I do know about stewardship in this country is that we are woefully behind the eight ball.
I was so excited to come here and participate in this open and transparent process, for us to be the ones to be able to define the foundation of this program and to think together how it is that we can, once and for all, move the industry into a place of transformation.
The Miles Partnership have invited such a talented group of people that all have one thing in common. They all really care about maturing tourism into a sector that can contribute to the well-being of the places that in which it occurs.
I feel really privileged to be part of it on behalf of Visit California. The idea that we have to infuse this entire tourism industry with stewardship principles is it's the most important thing that tourism can do, not only because of existential threats like climate, but also to sustain the industry into the future and to provide equity to all our communities in California and throughout the tourism ecosystem.
There's been universal agreement that there needs to be a more systemic approach to the complexity of the interconnected issues and opportunities that we all face. We believe that destination stewardship is inherently about preservation of place, honouring unique pasts, being community-led to shape the present, and doing all that we can to protect the future.
What I love about today is the mind think, the wealth of knowledge in the room as we dissect and figure out how to organically integrate concepts like D&I, for example, into the various aspects of the frameworks and processes that we're discussing.
The outcomes that we are seeking to achieve for DMOs is a framework to define the role of destination stewardship and its key functions, and we're ensuring that we nest within that the role of destination promotion.
I truly believe in the transformational power of tourism as a force for good.
From the planet comes people and society and culture, and then from that comes economics and profit.
And we have to give everybody that opportunity to make a start.
As tourism leaders, it's really important that we consider our people and our places as we go forward, as tourism continues to grow around the world.
I think this is imperative that I leave this place better than I found.
Because what you've done is brought a group of people together to navigate real complexities, to create and synthesize this momentum moving forward into what sustainable destinations are creating and how that becomes stewardship.
I think that in the Wayfinder, we continue to carry the story and the culture of our company forward by investing in and finding ways to create the conditions for people to collaborate and become a part of a community that is building a product together, not for the benefit of just an industry, but for the benefit of the land we're on, the children we have at home, and generations to come.
I can't begin to tell you how humbled and honored I am to have been invited to be in this room. This is the most phenomenal collection of folks. I have learned so much about a topic I care deeply about, and people who I have known and care deeply about.
This challenge is so huge, and our industry is so diverse. I'm leaving with a sense of hope.
I want to acknowledge all the Global Stewardship Innovation Lab members and thank them for their work and their commitment to stewardship globally. We left Los Angeles united, encouraged, and with a definition of stewardship that we could agree on, plus pages and pages and pages of butcher paper and post-it notes. And over the course of the next 6 months, built the Destination Wayfinder software as a service. We progressed to beta testing with the Innovation Lab and working with 3 prototype destinations, Queenstown, 4 Vancouver Island, and Los Angeles. We just launched the Wayfinder last month at annual convention in partnership with Destinations International, and we're proud to be part of Destinations International Destination Stewardship Roadmap. We left Los Angeles united in a definition for destination stewardship, which we believe is destination stewardship is the continuous pursuit of a net positive ecosystem that exists in alignment with shared community values. This definition builds on a model for destination stewardship, which helps to show the balance that we're trying to achieve between community needs and visitor needs, and the achievement of destination balance of 4 guiding principles: economic value and prosperity, protection and respect for heritage and culture, environmental preservation and ecological balance, and community well-being and inclusion. The Destination Wayfinder framework has these 4 principles at the heart of it, as well as 5 success enablers that the destination organisation can focus on in order to achieve those outcomes. These include the management structure and framework for the organisation, stakeholder engagement, resiliency, risk and crisis management, brand marketing and communications, and destination development. So in summary, the Destination Wayfinder is an industry-led destination management framework which helps guide destination organisations through a continuous improvement pathway that helps them to measure, monitor, and improve destination stewardship, capability, and outcomes. And here is a short video to show you more.
The Wayfinder is a best practice destination management framework curated by Industry for Industry. Built within a tried and tested platform, the Wayfinder leads destination organizations through a continuous improvement pathway that measures, monitors, and improves destination stewardship capability and outcomes. Grounded in collaboration and global best practices, the Wayfinder guides destinations on their stewardship journey so they can better balance the needs of their communities and visitors alike. The Wayfinder's self-assessment tool allows destination organizations to calculate their destination stewardship indicator against each of the 9 modules in our framework. The Wayfinder provides the necessary metrics to demonstrate progress in stewardship outcomes. Track progress in real time and see your DSI improve as you strengthen your stewardship commitments and capabilities. The Wayfinder's structured pathway is designed for continuous enhancement of your stewardship capability. As you identify areas for improvement, receive actionable insights, and explore our library of curated external resources and tools to aid in stewardship efforts. With the Wayfinder, ground your conversations with residents and key stakeholders and gain a clear view of common challenges, pain points, and shared priority areas. The Wayfinder provides destination organizations with the tools to communicate strategic direction to stakeholders, boards, and funders. With confidence in strategic planning, decision-making, and resource allocation, you can focus on achieving better outcomes for your destination. By centering community in decision-making, tourism organizations can become leading destination stewards, enhancing both resident quality of life and the visitor experience. It's a transformational way of looking at tourism and how destination organizations do what they do.
With Destination Wayfinder, it was really important to us that we worked with industry to have a by industry, for industry approach. And the Wayfinder would ultimately really work for the destination organisations that need it. And we were really grateful to be able to work with 3 amazing destinations: Destination Queenstown, Los Angeles Tourism, and also for Vancouver Island. And so today I'm really delighted that Anthony Everett from 4VI Group is able to join us Through this process, Anthony has become a wonderful friend who I treasure, but is also such an inspirational destination leader who I've admired from afar for many years and am now delighted to be able to work with. So Anthony, thank you for joining us today. Your story of creating 4VI, a social enterprise on Vancouver Island, and now more recently 4VI Group, is incredible. And we were just talking before we started filming about the transitions that you've gone through over these last few years. So much change management required, and that requires such incredible leadership. So thank you for the work that you're doing and being such a great exemplar for all of us around the world to be able to follow.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thanks for my time with you. As you said, you said I was treasured, and I treasured my time with you, and especially being in at the beginning of something like Wayfinder, which has been so, I think it's such an important step, an important process of stewardship, and a really important platform that will help not only us, but I believe where the world needs to go. And when we're looking ahead here on Vancouver Island, we're trying to think of the next 100 years, 500 years, 1,000 years. And I really feel like this will be one of those points in time where Wayfinder will be looked back upon as something that really helped communities and destinations and the people that live in these places to be successful and to understand what caretaking is all about. So we're doing what we need to do because we love where we live, and we believe that we're at a time where stewardship and ideas of looking after these places are so important to what tourism really is as an industry.
Yeah, just beautiful. What was the no point for you, Anthony? When was that time that you knew you needed to change how you were approaching the destination?
Well, it's been a few steps along the way. I mean, I'm fortunate or unfortunate enough to have been around for a few years now, and it wasn't too long ago, that I was in a different part of British Columbia. I grew up on Vancouver Island, so my love has always been here. But I was living somewhere else, doing tourism work, and I remember having discussions with small communities or mayors in small communities, and we weren't really talking about what I was doing, which was marketing a place. It was more about what the community needs were and the challenges communities were facing. And, whatever the challenge was, it could have been fires or wildfires, or it could have been unhoused people in communities, these kind of things. And it always stuck in my mind that, we as a tourism organization were trying to attract people to these communities and places, but we weren't really talking about how we rise up the community as a whole. And so this was in my mind, but I didn't really think it through to the point. But then, like all of us faced, the pandemic came. And in that pandemic, that was the node, if you want to use that term, that a change point for us, which was as an organization that largely had been responsible for, we'd done things like what we called destination development. We did these things, and what was that? Looking at infrastructure needs and whatnot for tourism to grow and develop. And there was a real focus on the economics of tourism. The pandemic comes and businesses are suffering. And as an organization, we did what some other organizations in the world did. We reformed ourselves just to help businesses survive the pandemic. And that ended up being a 2-year process of obtaining government funds and just helping businesses adapt. But what that meant for us was we were changing and didn't even know it. Our view of what we needed to be providing for Vancouver Island and communities and the people here was changing. We learned that we could change as an organization. So coming out of the pandemic, we wanted to tackle these societal issues that we were seeing, and whether it's climate change or having lots of people in certain spaces. And in the summer of 2021, we had more people on Vancouver Island than we'd ever had in human history. And it felt uncomfortable. And we were getting asked lots of questions like, why are we supporting tourism, or why do we want tourism? And it was uncomfortable. And I didn't like feeling uncomfortable. And that shifted our thinking to focusing on the social impact that we create, or tourism can take, and the intersection between social impact, community needs, and what people who are living in these places want for their own communities. And so that was kind of the time of change. And then we came upon this idea that you'd been working on in your time at Bay of Plenty, and that's sustainability and stewardship, ideas of regeneration. And I just like to think of it as caretaking for place. And so that's what we started to change. And that it was the note of change in the pandemic. And now we're long down the road and we are adapting and we're constantly trying to take a hard look at what we're doing. But at the end of the day, something like Wayfinder for us is such an important part of where we want to go, because it will help us map out, measure, and make sure our success is over the long term. And we're about to embark, I'm proud to say, on a multi-year stewardship planning process for Vancouver Island, where we can use the Wayfinder tool to measure our success over time and really get people engaged with this caretaking of this place we love. So, a few years ago, we created a mission for ourselves, which was we're in business to ensure that travel is a force for good in Vancouver Island forever. And that Wayfinder tool, we believe, is the way that we can show success with our future. And that's what we're doing. And I'm purposely using the term caretaking because I think it really, at the end of the day, is about caretaking. And that's certainly the way Indigenous people have seen it here on Vancouver Island for millennia. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you, Anthony, for sharing that. And I think when we invited you to come to the Innovation Lab to be part of the industry group to put Wayfinder together, before we'd really even conceived of it, we contacted you and said, would you come? It's just in a few weeks' time. And at that point, you were someone I'd never met, but I'd followed your work and admired it so much. And I thought, man, those guys, they're doing such incredible work, and they really, they know what they're doing over there. And he's probably never going to come in and meet with us. And you were like, yeah, I'll be there. And you got on a plane. I think you cut a holiday short to be there and be part of that amazing group of people in those few days. But I think for me, from my work in the Bay of Plenty, the Wayfinder has become what I needed at that time, what would have helped me so much. And I think that's what brought you and the other incredible destination leaders to Los Angeles, is because you knew you needed something to support this work. And that's what I'm hearing you say now, that it's turned into something that you've built to help you in the transition, because the transition from destination promotion to destination stewardship, it's really hard, right?
Yeah, I mean, isn't it a fascinating time? We're right on this. The tipping point is we're past the tipping point, and we're all grappling with this need, which is to really care for these places. And so, yeah, we need resources, we need tools. The reason I jumped at it, I mean, I was incredibly honored to be asked. I couldn't believe that I was being asked, to be honest. It was so much fun, those days of talking about what we could do globally, in a global sense, to make a difference for the planet. And that's really what it is. And this is the resource to measure and to help us get somewhere. And, Miles Partnership doing this, there's nothing really else out there that I certainly know about. And that's the incredible part, right? You end up doing things you think you're doing your best. Everyone's trying to do their best. But when you can get together in a room with people to talk about these things, and in a way that is, everyone is invested in the same way, and there's a lot of passion there, and people want to do what's best, I think, great things happen. And that's certainly my experience with what Wayfinder was. And here we are today, Kristin. I mean, like you said, we didn't know each other, and here we are enjoying time together. We're, sharing resources. We're talking often, and I'm just very excited about what the future could be. And a lot of that has to do with the change that's happening. And now we have a resource through Wayfinder that will allow us to build that change that's required. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of it. And honestly, I can't wait to see how it develops and changes over time, because that's the other part of it, right? It's not one of these platforms where it is this. It's adaptable. It can work with communities. It can work with where you're at. And I really believe in that principle. You have to meet communities where they're at in order to help them move along a path. And it's a wonderful time to be a part of this.
Yeah, that's a really important principle that we started with, was making it accessible to all communities and wherever they're at on their journey, because it's just so important to just keep moving forward, isn't it? Whatever you're doing, stewardship. It doesn't have to be perfect or complete. Just keep taking those steps.
Take a step. Take the step. You know, I think people instinctively know. We all know. I mean, I don't know if everyone knows, but I think everyone knows deep down that change is required. And so, what does that look like? And you can use the Wayfinder to find those small steps, whether it's governance, strategy, even your marketing. You can use it to benchmark things and how you're marketing or storytelling the place. And yeah, I think it's just that there's a lot of things that will help communities, destinations, organizations achieve a new way forward. And it's just that one step, like you said.
I think at the Bay of Plenty, what I really underestimated was the change process that we needed to go through. Like you, we sort of went into it not knowing how we were going to come out and what steps would be required. And we had to change everything about us. So one of the things that I hope the Wayfinder would bring is a bit of a map for that journey to have you think about, okay, it's an interesting point. What about that element? What about that area? That's something I need to think about too, which doesn't mean you need to do it all at once, but ultimately gives us a holistic view of the process that you need to go through to move from promotion to stewardship. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about, which is so valuable, is what lessons you learnt along the way of implementing this change. What are the key things you learned?
Yeah, I mean, because you and I, we've talked before many times about this idea of change. And I think there's a few approaches I would take to this, and this is probably, we could spend an hour talking about just this topic. But I think that the industry, by and large, particularly at the DMO level, has sometimes been, at times, slow to change or adapt within the system that they're provided. And there's different systems around the world, different funding models around the world, different priorities. But I think that we can all agree that you have to move forward, and moving forward means sometimes you have to change. So that is one of the lessons that there are. You know, you have to set a vision. You have to put your best foot forward and say, we need to go in this direction. And then you have to work really hard to help people adapt and find access points to what you're trying to achieve. And that change idea is challenging for some. And, you know, it's not always easy. It's not always easy while you're trying to incubate the change or create that change, but it's not easy for the people that feel like they're being impacted. And so you have to go through that. And the last point, I mean, there's other points I can make, but I would share that, you know, I hope that the Wayfinder and what we're all trying to achieve in the world, those of us that are following this path of stewardship and caretaking, that even if we don't understand, that we come to it with a sense of curiosity. So use the Wayfinder to ask questions, be curious about what the future can look like. You might not be ready to accept it or understand it necessarily, but you know, like you said, there's a roadmap, there's a bunch of things that you can think about, and just be curious about that, because I think that's how change will be achieved. And that's what the Wayfinder really does. It provides a roadmap of a number of things, because a lot of really talented people have put it together and laid it out, and it can be adapted. I just hope that there's a curiosity factor that people can bring and ask good questions and know that it's about moving forward. And maybe it's a new direction, and that's kind of scary, but change is ultimately a good thing. I mean, I don't know a business that is always thinking about how they adapt, how they can find another customer, how can they change their offerings. And it's the same for destinations, and it should be the same for the tourism system, quote unquote. And so that's what I'd offer. Change requires curiosity.
Yeah, I think with the Wayfinder too, it was important to all of us at the Innovation Lab that it gave you a sense of where are you at now? Just an honest, authentic, internal sense, where are we at now? Because from there, then you can decide where you want to go. And where each destination wants to go will be different. And so the point of having a holistic framework is to be able to choose your own journey. And hopefully the priorities that you take on next are the ones that your community are telling you are the priorities. And you've had that conversation with them at the heart of all this. And then you can set some priorities, budget towards those, resource towards those, and then see the change over time and demonstrate that progress to stakeholders? Because it can all be pretty ethereal, right? Like it's hard to be tangible about it and to help people understand what it is that you're trying to do and what you're achieving. Do you find that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point and great way that you put it. I think, again, you can get lost in a destination, particularly smaller communities or even larger ones, I guess, that you get like kind of myopic in your approach. So you're working on what you need to work on in your community. And what Wayfinder can help provide is context, right? So through measurement, through what others are doing. I think that's all good in its totality so that you can understand what's happening in the broader context. And I think that how you put that is so true and so important actually to the Wayfinder. And, like you said, meeting communities where they're at and then helping them find success points, because I think the world today needs more people learning together. And as a tool of collaboration, I think it's a very important platform for that. And that's what stewardship really is. How do you caretake if you're not all in it together to caretake a place or guide a place into a new future? And that's why I say, like, when we look 1,000 years into the future, we need to understand what the steps along the way are. So I think how you put it is very true.
I think the time frame thing is so interesting because we live in these annual cycles, right? Or maybe 3 yearly cycles, and they're often attached to funding. And so we end up in this sort of cycle of looking quite short term. And with stewardship, you can't. It must be a long-term commitment. And you might set out, I think, to achieve change in 1 or 2 areas. That could take 3 to 5 years to see the impact of that change come through. So can you talk to me a little bit about the time frames that you're working in?
Yeah, so starting back in 2022, we relaunched ourselves as a restart from, I wouldn't say we were a traditional, the term DMO. I wouldn't even have really used that term because we were doing lots of development, we were doing other things. But if you think of us in the traditional term, and when we shifted to this idea of social enterprise, that was the start of this change. And it's just sped up because we realized that if we are going to look at the social impacts of tourism and ensure that travel's the force for good, then we needed to map out stewardship different. And you're 100% right. Even saying a stewardship plan that covers 10 years, I think it needs to be longer term than that. And so we're constantly thinking through these ideas because, again, Indigenous people in Vancouver Island have been caretaking this place for millennia, and they've been trying to make multi-generational decisions about what the future can look like. And I think, it's a way of thinking that really works for this idea of stewardship. So you might be able to map out your planning process, might take 2 years, but where you're really trying to get to is 1,000 years. So, and talking this way is new in tourism. And I think that we need to explore it, be curious about it as we go over time. Because if you think of the old days, it was only a few years ago, and I'm probably saying for you at some point in your career, you were building a 3-year marketing plan or, something like that. And now we're talking longer term. I think the question I get asked often in our journey as a social enterprise, why we changed and those things, I often get asked, well, what's your funding model? That's the first question. And I think actually that's the wrong question to ask. The question should be, like, why did you change and where did you want to go, as opposed to because I really believe that there's funding requirements for everyone in this space, particularly at the destination level. And I think what I hear, so many people are desperate to move away from simply marketing to taking on other initiatives. So map out what the long-term future you want to see for where you are, and then work with the funder, whether it's government, to get to a new place. I think it's possible, and it has to be possible, because I get asked that question often, and I can tell people are frustrated when they ask, because they'll say, we're funded this way to do these things. And I think, well, what do you really want to do in your heart that's different for your community? And Wayfinder is one of those things that I think it will help people start to inform stakeholders, partners, collaborators, communities, thinking differently about what is possible. It's going to be really fun and interesting to see over time how Wayfinder will help communities, destinations, and organizations make that shift. And I think it's the perfect tool to do that.
As you say, it poses questions and just needs honest answers. And
yeah.
I mean, my favorite question in this whole conversation about stewardship is about what do we want for this place for our future generations. And that's the way that our Indigenous peoples think about their places, making sure that it is there, the resources are still there and of a quality that their future generations, their great grandchildren can still, frankly, survive now, let alone thrive. And it's such a powerful question to put to a community, isn't it? What do you want for this place in 500 years, 100 years, for your great grandchildren? Because then it's really personal to everybody. It's in the issues around funding and all of the governance complexities and the political complexities. I just feel like it dissipates all of that.
Yeah.
Because the love of our places overrides all of that.
Yeah, and actually, you just said something that's so powerful. It's, it's so easy to feel like I sometimes feel, and I'm sure others do, like overwhelmed by the challenges out there, right? Like just overwhelmed by the complexity of the world, let alone what we're trying to do. And and as I said in 2021, when we had more people here than ever before in history, it really shifted something in my thinking, because I'm like, wow, like we're so focused on this moment, but what do we want to see in 100 years? So we need to really think differently about this. And it had been coming for me, and that moment, and it's like you say, like, I think Wayfinder is it's a positive approach to a new future. And if it's as simple as that, really, and you can use it for stewardship, for caretaking, for all those things. And there's so many different, within it, modules that will take you through a process that is helpful. And I loved what you said, because it's a positive approach. Wayfinder is a positive tool for the future, for what we do, because the world can be overwhelming, and this gives some kind of form and function to that. Otherwise, you just feel like you're spinning all the time in difficult times. And I'm ready to break free. I hope everyone else is. We need to find a new way forward. That's the way I look at it.
I can totally relate to what you were reflecting there in terms of being the leader of all this change, and how overwhelming that is. And it's hard because there are detractors, right? There are people who think you're absolutely crazy and have no idea what it is that you're talking about. Just look at you blankly, and then or trying to stop it because they can't cope with the change and don't understand it. So it's exhausting. And you're doing this in a really accelerated time frame, because it's only 2024 and you started in 2022. So I think that's one of the things I hope for the Wayfinder, is that it gives support to leaders like you and like I was. And frankly, I couldn't continue in that role. And so, I mean, I guess we built it to try and support ourselves and in the hope that it supports other leaders going forward. And I just love that about it. And the innovation lab that we brought together is such a great community. And I know we're all talking with each other so often because it offers support and understanding, because we're talking about the same themes and feeling like we're not alone in this. And now that group is growing and growing, as we keep sort of putting the stewardship flag out there, there's so many more people coming going, hey, I need to know more about this. I need to be on this too.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's just like you said. I mean, it's been so much fun to be a part of like-minded people that you and I just met. We met. Innovation, like it's been a little while now, but not that long, and it's just incredible to start. Putting that for us. It's been a couple very short years, rapid change, all those things. But it's our next phase, the phase we're in now. It's about creating clarity, and that's why. So our traditional work, I will use that term, around tourism development, and all those initiatives really live within one of our business units. So we're the 4VI Social Enterprise Group, and our longstanding not-for-profit tourism organization we call 4TVI, and that's where we're going to use the tool, the platform through Wayfinder, because it's going to create clarity for us, like you said, for stewardship, for a new way forward, a new future. And that's why it's so exciting. And so our next phase is about clarity. And I hope, like you said, Wayfinder can become that way of for clear thinking, focused thinking, and clarity of purpose for all these organizations. And I think we're going to, like you said, we're going to start convening and coalescing more and more people to this cause of stewardship, and then that will spread worldwide, and we'll really start making a new difference. And I don't know if change the world's the right way to frame it, but I hope that's what we do.
I do too, and I think we've both seen in our respective destination roles that this is possible. That it really works. Tourism can have absolute purpose, and it can make incredible change for communities of people and the things that are important to them in their place. So yeah, I'm a believer in the power of tourism to have incredible outcomes. Anthony, we were talking about how important our communities are, our community at place, but the stewardship community is so important, and the Innovation Lab is growing out now with all these other destinations coming to want to hear more, to discuss more, and not feel so alone in this journey. It's been incredible to work with yourself and with Queenstown and Los Angeles, just such incredible waymakers for all of us to follow, and to see the community building. And we're not being, it's not competitive. Everyone's here to try and share what they learn, what they've learned, and what they know, the challenges that they're facing, and help each other on this transition. And I just love it. How are you finding it?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that what's so exciting about this is that for the first time in my, as I said earlier, long career now, I'm talking to destination leaders in new ways of thinking, working with communities. I'm learning. We're moving forward in new and exciting directions. I would never have worked with Queenstown or Los Angeles in this regard before. And now we're looking around, and I'm talking to lots of destinations that are curious about stewardship, our process, Wayfinder, talking about that. And the challenges, we talked earlier about challenges and how feeling overwhelmed, but this is the opportunity. The opportunity is to make a difference. And stewardship, thinking about caretaking, and using Wayfinder is going to build a whole network and community. And it can't be competitive. It has to be different, because we really need to start benefiting the planet in new and exciting ways. And this is the opportunity. And this is just, Wayfinder is one of the opportunities, but I think even above what Wayfinder is, it's creating a community, and creating a community of stewards for the world is really a special thing. And, I would thank Miles Partnership, and I would thank our chance to be a part of Wayfinder. So thank you for allowing us to be a part of something pretty unique and very, very special.
I think for us, I know for both of us, purpose in our work is so important, and there's nothing more purposeful for tourism than this type of work. And these conversations are so energizing. The conversations that we have with you and with other destination leaders and their teams, so energizing, and it helps you get through that overwhelm and the kind of exhaustion of the slog of the change, doesn't it? And then you see the results of an initiative in the community where their passion really unleashes, and it creates, sorry, I'm going to stumble on this one a bit, where you see the change that you've worked towards in the community, and the community energy and passion unleash. And that's when you really know that you're onto something.
Yeah, I agree. I think stewardship is that moment, and the moment where communities can come together and really celebrate their community, the people in it, and where they want to go. As you said, we've said many times now, many years, hundreds of years into the future. And you know what that requires? That requires curiosity, as I said before, passion, enthusiasm. And that's what Wayfinder is providing. And as I said, I'm honored to be a part of this network now, talking to friends and colleagues now like yourself around the world. And I'm just very, very grateful that I'm still working at a time where this change is happening.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you for watching and being part of the 24 Hours of Travel Innovation on World Tourism Day, presented by Destination Think. It's been a privilege to participate in the event and to speak about this important topic and share the Wayfinder as a solution that has been built by industry for industry and is ready for your use now. The travel industry can truly take a big role in leading positive change and being a force for good. I wholeheartedly believe this. Working collectively is so powerful, and an event like this is a testament to what is possible. We're really excited to see the other solutions that are out there too and celebrate them as well. If you want to learn more about Destination Wayfinder, you can visit destinationwayfinder.com. And whether or not you're watching this on World Tourism Day, you can find many, many more solutions and get updates from Destination Think. We want to see solutions spread around the world, so please share this presentation if you enjoyed it, and thanks again for watching.